Hi everybody, how are you? Welcome back to all our regular Rise and Shine listeners, and if you're here for the first time, great to see you. Today's story is called Poverty Blacksmith. And before I start the story, just for background, in case people don't know what a blacksmith is, it's somebody who makes things out of metal, usually iron or steel. And how they do that is they put the metal, the iron, in a very hot fire until it gets soft, and then they can hit it with a hammer and turn it into different shapes, and they can make tools, ornaments, all sorts of things. Blacksmiths are very good at making things. And of course, blacksmiths have a whole collection of hammers, and some of them are much bigger and much heavier than this little hammer I've got today. There are all kinds of smiths. You can get goldsmiths, you can get silversmiths, tinsmiths, locksmiths, wordsmiths, and there's Isabel Smith, my neighbour. Blacksmiths get their name from the black oxides which form on the surface of the iron when it gets heated up very hot. So our blacksmith lived in a village. I don't know what it was about the village or about him, but he never seemed to have any money. They never had enough food. His children were often seen on the streets of the village begging for food, and in the winter they didn't have enough money to buy firewood to keep them warm. And one winter's evening, they were just sitting down to their meagre supper when there was a knock at the door. It was an old beggar man. And Poverty said straight away, "Come in," and he told the old man that he should eat as much food as he liked. And when they'd finished eating, they made him a bed by the fire, and they put on an extra couple of those precious logs to make sure that the old man didn't get cold in the night. And so it was that the next day, as the old beggar man was leaving, he turned around and said, "Poverty, I've been round the whole district, knocking at the doors of the finest and biggest houses, but never did they let me in, and they always sent me away empty-handed. But you, who've got next to nothing, shared your last food with me. So I'm going to tell you who I am. I am God, and I want to grant you 3 wishes. So, what would you like? If you were given 3 wishes, what would you wish for? Let us know. Write us a comment, that would be good." Poverty thought very hard, and then he said, "Well, God, you see that rickety old bench over there?" And he pointed to a rickety old bench over there, and he said, "I would like it if anybody who sat on that rickety old bench wasn't able to get up unless I said so. All right, you can have that wish." And Poverty thought again, and he said, "God, did you see that apple tree out by the front door? Well, it gives really good apples, but the trouble is that tree's really easy to climb, and people who go past the house are always climbing up and taking all the apples. I would like it if people climbing up in that apple tree were not able to get back to the ground without my permission." All right, you can have that wish. The 3rd wish. Poverty thought very hard, and then he said, "God, my purse is very small and it's always very light." Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking he's going to ask for lots of money, aren't you? Well, this is what he actually said. "God, I would like it if anything that goes into my purse wasn't able to get back out until I say so." All right, you can have that wish too. And off God went on his way. Now remember, Poverty Blacksmith was really poor, and his family were all really thin as a church mouse, as thin as a judge's cat, as thin as a president's dictionary. But a few days later, there was another knock at the door. This time, it was a very well-dressed gentleman.
Good morning, Poverty Blacksmith. I've been hearing in the village that you had a visitor the other day, and they say it was a visit from God. Did he give you anything?
The blacksmith answered, nothing that wasn't offered.
I heard that he granted you some wishes. I am the devil, and I'm going to make you an offer as well. You can have as much money as you want, on one condition.
He asked, what are your conditions?
After 10 years, you must come with me to the fieriest, hottest part of hell.
I accept, said Poverty, and suddenly the devil vanished in a puff of smoke. Well, suddenly there was lots of money. It just kept coming. There was so much of it. Poverty did not know what to do with it all. In fact, all he had to do was make up for lost time, and it was going from party to party and buying all the food he wanted and having a pile of logs as high as his own house. He lived the life of Riley. But then, one fine morning, 10 years later, there was another knock at the door.
Poverty Blacksmith, it's now been 10 years. I have kept my part of the bargain. Now it's time for you to keep yours. You must come with me to the fieriest, hottest part of hell.
Oh, devil, said Poverty. Do you think I could just have another 10 years because I'm having such a nice time?
No, you must come with me now.
Very well, said Poverty. Devil, if you just sit over there on that rickety old bench, I'll go and get all my things together and I'll be with you in 2 ticks. So the devil went to sit down on the rickety old bench, and Poverty, well, he didn't go and get all his things. He went to his smithy and he came back with an iron bar which he had made earlier. All right, he said, I'm ready to go. Let's start our journey all the way to hell. But when the devil tried to stand up, he found that he couldn't. And Poverty Blacksmith just took his iron bar and started hitting the devil very hard.
Stop hitting me!
But Poverty Blacksmith just carried on hitting him. And he said, Devil, I'm not going to stop hitting you unless you promise to leave me alone for another 10 years, but you carry on giving me all that money.
I promise! Let me go!
So Poverty Blacksmith stopped hitting him and said, all right, devil, now you can get up. And the devil got up and disappeared in an angry puff of smoke. And for the next 10 years, there was even more money than before. Poverty just went around having such a lovely time, and all his family did anything they wanted. Until 10 years later. One day, there was a knock at the door, and there stood the devil. This time, he had a big burly henchman with him.
Come with me.
Oh, devil, do you think I could have another 10 years because I'm having such a good time?
Certainly not.
All right then, well, I'm ready to go whenever you are. Is it a long way down to the fiery depths of hell?
Yes.
In that case, said Poverty, why don't we take some of these apples with us? They're just coming into ripeness and they're really good apples.
All right. Get some apples for us while you're up there.
Oh no, I'm far too old to climb up trees. Your henchman looks really fit. Why doesn't he collect some apples? So the henchman climbed up into the apple tree and started picking apples. Poverty Blacksmith disappeared off to his smithy. The devil said,
Oi, henchman, pass me that apple at the top of the tree. That looks like the best one.
But the henchman said, oh, devil, I'm having such a good time. These apples are delicious. Why don't you just come up here and get your own apples? Well, the two of them were up there in the apple tree, eating all the apples. And Poverty Blacksmith came back from his smithy with a stick of metal that he just sharpened in the fire. He stood underneath the tree and said, "All right, devil, here I am, let's go."
I can't get back down.
What do you mean you can't get back down? And Poverty Blacksmith started to poke them with the sharp stick.
Stop poking me.
But did he stop poking them? He just carried on.
Stop poking me with that stick. Stop poking me with that sharp stick.
I'm not going to stop poking you with my sharp stick until you promise, devil, to leave me alone for another 10 years, and you must continue to give me lots of money.
I promise. Let me down out of this tree.
And the devil disappeared in an angry puff of smoke along with his henchmen. Well, there was another 10 years of superabundance of money. The blacksmith had more than ever. Well, people still called him Poverty, but he was very, very rich. He was the richest person for miles and miles around. Everything continued like that for another 10 years. And then one morning, suddenly, without any warning at all, the devil stood there before him in a flash of lightning, a crash of thunder. And this time, he had hundreds of little devils with him. They were like a smoke all around. And the devil said,
Come with me to the fiery depths of hell.
"Oh, devil, I'm having such a nice time. Do you think I could just have another 10 years?
No, no, no.
All right, said Poverty. I'm ready to come with you. But you know, you gave me such a fright, appearing just like that in a flash of smoke. You are actually very clever, aren't you?
Of course I'm clever. I'm the devil.
I can see that you're very clever, devil, and it seems that you can do a lot of things. When God visited me, he said that he could do anything. He could become as big as those mountains over there, and he could get so small that he could get inside the smallest space and nobody would know he was there.
Anything God can do, I can do better.
What? Said Poverty. Do you mean to say that you can do that too? God said that he could get so small that he could get him and all his angels inside this purse and nobody would know they were there. You couldn't do that with all your little devils, could you?
Of course.
Ah, devil, you're just boasting now. I just can't believe that you could do that. Suddenly there was a flash of light and a puff of smoke, and all the devils turned into a kind of vapor, and they all immediately went inside the purse. As soon as they were inside the purse, Poverty Blacksmith pulled the strings. He put the purse down on the table and he went to his smithy, and he came back with his biggest hammer. He took the purse and started hitting it all over.
Let us out of this purse.
But Poverty said, Devil, I'm only going to let you out on one condition.
Yes, anything. What is your condition?
You must go away and never darken my door again.
Yes, let us out.
And Poverty opened the strings of his purse and let all the devils out. And they disappeared in a flash of smoke and never troubled Poverty Blacksmith again. And that is why Poverty is still with us on this earth today. So there you have it, the story of Poverty. Now, a lot of storytellers will tell you that everything they say is entirely true. But if you think that that is the real reason why we have poverty in the world today, then I'd ask you to think a bit more carefully, because this story is definitely not true. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye.